Tonight on NewsWatch, the president releases his plan for the budget, why some lawmakers are already criticizing it.
Plus, the story of two women imprisoned in Iran, all because of their faith.
And we'll show you the silent killer that could be behind everything from skin wrinkles to heart attacks. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The president was supposed to submit his budget to Congress the first week in February. Instead, he submitted it today, more than 2 months late.
But some lawmakers have a hard time thinking about spending more taxpayer dollars when so much is already being wasted. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
The president's political allies and enemies now have something in common. They're not fans of his 2014 budget. White House officials say it's proof of Mr. Obama's willingness to compromise with Congress.
And I don't believe that all these ideas are optimal, but I'm willing to accept them as part of a compromise, if and only if they contain protections for the most vulnerable Americans.
The president's spending plan pushes money into projects like building roads and bridges, scientific research, and education. The White House says the budget also cuts the deficit by nearly $2 trillion over the next 10 years.
But if we're serious about deficit reduction, then these reforms have to go hand in hand with reforming our tax code to make it more simple and more fair so that the wealthiest individuals and biggest corporations cannot keep taking advantage of loopholes and deductions that most Americans don't get.
To entice Republicans to consider raising taxes on top earners, the president's budget includes cuts to entitlement spending on Medicare.
When it comes to deficit reduction, I've already met Republicans more than halfway. So in the coming days and weeks, I hope that Republicans will come forward and demonstrate that they're really as serious about the deficits and debt as they claim to be.
For some lawmakers, it's hard to take any spending plan and certainly tax increases seriously when so many tax dollars, tens of billions of them, are being wasted on bureaucratic inefficiencies.
For example, on Medicaid alone, the government wastes billions of dollars a year by simply paying too much for services. And since 2002, the Department of Defense has gone from having 2 camouflage uniforms to 7. That costs tens of millions more and also makes it more difficult for service members to identify one another in combat. It's one of dozens of recommendations offered by the Government Accountability Office to cut back government waste. Another example, the office found that last year there were 700 government initiatives to do the same thing, promote renewable energy.
The hardworking American taxpayers have a hard enough time paying for something once, but paying for it twice is really a problem.
But until Congress and the president act to cut that waste, taxpayers will keep right on paying for it. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Phil Kerpen is the president of American Commitment and joins us now for more. Phil, the White House calls the president's plan a compromise. Do you see it that way?
Well, look, the House passed a budget at $3,530 billion. The Senate passed one at $3,710 billion. The president came in $60 billion above the Senate. So if you're spending significantly more than either budget, I don't think you're a compromise. I think you're to the far left of pretty much everyone else in the budget discussion, and that's where the president staked out his ground.
Well, the plan calls for some tax hikes, but didn't the president already get the tax increases he wanted as part of the fiscal cliff deal back in January?
Well, he's had 2 pretty huge rounds of tax hikes, both of which are mostly hitting the American people right now. He had the Obamacare tax hikes of about $1 trillion. Then he had the fiscal cliff tax hikes of about $600 billion. And this budget calls for another $1 trillion or so in additional tax hikes on top of that.
Will Republicans allow more tax hikes?
I don't think so. I think the tax hikes in this budget are going to be dead on arrival in the House of Representatives. And I would point out that a lot of these tax hikes are not on the rich, despite the president's promise to only tax the rich. Foremost among them would be his big increase in the cigarette tax to $1.95 a pack. And I can assure you a lot of the people who smoke cigarettes are not the well-off and well-connected, as the president likes to refer to the people he wants to tax.
Yeah, quite the contrary. Well, this budget does call for some entitlement reform. Is it enough?
Well, in my opinion, it's the wrong kind of entitlement reform. It's the kind that actually will hurt beneficiaries on these programs, including current retirees. He has a cut to the cost of living adjustment in Social Security, so people will see a smaller increase in their benefit year to year. And the cuts in Medicare, I think, will greatly diminish research and development into new cures, into prescription drugs, because he diminishes the amount that prescription drug companies are paid for their drugs in the Medicare Part D program. And of course, that decreases the incentive to do R&D and find the next great cure. And so I think they're the wrong kinds of cuts. We need to be moving to more individual choice and competition. He really goes in the opposite direction.
Well, Phil, moving forward, what do you think is key for lawmakers right now to reduce the country's deficit and rein in some spending?
Well, I mean, you can't have budgets that increase spending when you're talking about cutting spending. And the president calls for $150 billion in more new spending in 1 year alone in this budget. I think they've got to get rid of that waste and abuse. That GAO report that you talked about that we just saw would be a great place to start, where there's outright waste, duplication, unnecessary programs. We've got to start terminating some of those before we even think about starting brand new programs.
Sounds like they need to give you a call, Phil. Phil Kerpen, thanks as always for your insights. Mark?
Thank you.
Support for background checks is gaining ground on Capitol Hill. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Republican Pat Toomey announced today their bipartisan deal to expand background checks to include gun show and online sales. It aims to keep firearms from criminals and the mentally ill. The deal comes one day after relatives of the victims from Newtown, Connecticut, pleaded with lawmakers to find common ground and act.
We asked them to think about if they lost their sister, their brother, their son or daughter, their mother this way, would they still feel the same way? I think that makes them think, something has to get done.
The common ground rests on a simple proposition, and that is that criminals and the dangerously mentally ill shouldn't have guns.
The National Rifle Association responded to the deal, saying expanding background checks at gun shows will not prevent the next shooting, will not solve violent crime, and will not keep our kids safe in school.
Virginia Congressman Frank Wolf is calling on President Obama to speak up for Egypt's persecuted Christians. Wolf says the president should forcefully denounce attacks on Coptic believers at their main cathedral in Cairo last weekend. An angry mob threw firebombs and rocks at Christians outside the cathedral on Sunday, leaving 2 Christians dead. Wolf says attacks on Christians will continue unless Mr. Obama speaks out. He says Christians in Egypt are living in fear and many are fleeing the country.
The story of imprisoned American pastor Saeed Abedini is focusing attention on the treatment of Christians in Iran. Now 2 Iranian women are telling their story of persecution. John Waggy explains.
Good afternoon, everybody.
They were raised Muslim in Iran, converted to Christianity, and studied theology together in Turkey. Merzia Amirzadeh says she had dreams and visions about Jesus.
I met Jesus in front of myself. He was standing next to a large throne which was covering with shining gold.
But in 2009, Amirzadeh and her friend Mariam Rostampour were arrested for sharing their Christian faith. They're authors of a new book called Captive in Iran, and they told their story this week at a Hudson Institute panel in Washington.
And God gave us this vision to distribute the Bible among Iranian people. And we distributed about 20,000 New Testaments in Tehran and a few other cities. And also we had 2 house churches. For one of them was for prostitutes, and the other one was for young people in our own apartment.
When Iranian authorities arrested them, they were interrogated for an entire day.
They sent us to a basement. There was a dirty and dark cell in the basement, and they threatened us to physical torture. They said that you need to give us all the information that we need, otherwise we will beat you until you vomit blood.
The women say the guards didn't physically torture them, but they were sent to Tehran's infamous Evin prison, where American pastor Saeed Abedini is now being held and sometimes tortured.
We were being interrogated by 2 interrogators, and they were trying to convince us to deny our faith, and they threatened us to executions.
The 2 women say officials threatened them with hanging at 10 different trials. After spending most of a year in prison, they were eventually released after Christians around the world publicized their case.
We believe that the first reason that we are here today and we are free is God's grace and God's will. And the second reason is support of all Christians from all around the world.
Rostanpour and Amirzadeh are urging believers to write letters to Iranians imprisoned for their faith. John Wagi, CBN News.
Coming up, as snow falls in the Midwest, some are raising new questions over global warming.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tomorrow at 10, only on USA.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tomorrow at 10, only on USA.
Well, once again, a big winter storm is hitting the upper Midwest, bringing some extremely cold temperatures with it.
You may wonder why this year's winter seems so long if we're facing global warming. Well, the answer is science shows that the globe has not been warming in recent years. Gary Lane explains.
The calendar may say it's spring, but a major winter-like snowstorm is wreaking havoc on the lives of Americans from the Rockies to the Upper Plains. 13 states are either under a storm watch or warning. 9 inches of snow fell on Denver, while Nebraska and the Dakotas expected as much as 2 feet. Powerful winds ripped the roof off this Harley-Davidson store in Pueblo, Colorado, and derailed a train off its tracks in Nebraska. Thick ice was the problem in Sioux Falls, causing many trees to fall on houses.
I thought I heard a very large thunderclap, so I thought I better go out there and see what's going on. And my reaction was, oh my God.
The tree that crashed into the roof of the Imker house also damaged their car. While the Imkers and their neighbors clean up, some scientists are wondering what's happening with the weather. Are we really experiencing global warming? While greenhouse gases have soared in the past 15 years, air temperatures at the Earth's surface have not. According to The Economist magazine, 100 billion tons of carbon were added to the atmosphere during the period 2000 to 2010. That's 1/4 of all man-created CO2s put there since 1750. A NASA scientist reports the 5-year mean global temperature has remained flat for the past decade. While some believe those statistics prove man-made climate change isn't as bad as previously feared, The Economist magazine still says global warming is happening, but skeptics remain unconvinced, including perhaps some of the Americans who are digging out from this week's spring snowstorm. Gary Lane, CBN News.
We turn now to Joe Bastardi. He's the chief forecaster at WeatherBell, and he joins us now via Skype. Joe, it's mid-April, and we're seeing a fairly large snowstorm. Despite all the talk of global warming, how is climate change really impacting weather patterns?
The Earth is not ever going to be in balance. So there's always fluctuations back and forth. We have seasons. The Earth wobbles on its axis. So, folks, this is a big hoax. In my opinion, the more I study it, the more I say, what are we arguing over? This is what nature does. When someone says to me climate change, it's redundant. The climate is constantly shifting back and forth because of the nature of the system. Just look at the Earth, look at the atmosphere and the fluid dynamics and everything else, and you find that this is what should happen.
Now, Joe, between the big snowstorms and big systems like Hurricane Sandy, it has been a pretty wild year weather-wise. Is that a trend that's going to continue this year?
I don't agree with that. You got to understand something. In the 1950s, 8 major hurricanes ran the eastern seaboard, major, Category 3 or greater, from South Carolina northward, okay? 6 hurricanes hit in a period of 2 years in North Carolina. When you understand this, when you go back and look at the past, it's like you don't have a house without a foundation. Why would you believe something without actually going back and researching what happened? The Pacific is turning colder. The Atlantic is warm. This happened in the 1950s. You're seeing the same weather in Europe, the same weather in the Far East. For the United States, the next 10 years overall are warm in the center of the country. We have hurricane threats, and then we'll go back to the 60s and 70s. And so this is a natural cycle.
Well, WeatherBell has just released its hurricane season forecast for this year. What can we expect?
So let's remember what happened last year. We had a lot of in-close activity, which we forecasted. We said a fast start and a big ending in close to the United States. But those areas from Africa all the way into the tropics, not much happened until Sandy. One storm came out of the deep tropics last year. This year, you're going to see a lot more storms coming off Africa, the more classic type seasons. And for those of us who live on the eastern seaboard, please go and look at the charts of the 1950s, and you'll understand why the past may be the forecaster of the future.
Okay, Joe Bastardi, thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, and enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Profound. Up next, the problem with inflammation and what you can do to help control this health issue.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute. Superbook.
No.
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah. Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't! They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry. Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tomorrow at 10, only on USA.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Someone once said, life doesn't give do-overs. But that's not entirely true.
What a remarkable comeback for Kurt Warner.
I'm Kurt Warner, and I got a second chance that changed my life. I remember those feelings. I didn't want to fail. I want to give you an opportunity to chase after your dream.
Seriously?
When you know you were meant to do something, you can't let life stand in your way.
This is what I've been trying for so many years.
I've been given a second chance.
The Moment, a new reality series hosted by Kurt Warner, premieres tomorrow at 10, only on USA.
Well, the more doctors learn about inflammation, the more they realize just how destructive it is.
But there is good news. You can reduce the inflammation inside your body by controlling what you eat. Health reporter Lori Johnson has more in tonight's Focus Report.
No matter what type of health problem you're facing, chances are it began with inflammation. This internal irritation causes our whole body to break down.
Whether you have a wrinkle in your skin caused by an artery being inflamed, or a wrinkle in your heart, a heart attack, or impotence, it's really the same process. And it's all caused, or at least it starts with, that inflammation in your artery.
Dr. Michael Roizen is the chairman of the world-famous Cleveland Clinic's Wellness Institute. He says inflammation is the silent killer that has eluded the medical community for years.
And it's only recently that we've understood that it has a role, and only recently that it has a really important or prominent role in causing diseases such as cancer, or in causing diseases such as heart attacks and strokes, or of causing the infectious diseases getting out of control that we now have.
Doctors know for sure that inflammation causes all kinds of illness. But what causes inflammation? Mostly an unhealthy diet. One that includes sugary drinks, sweet food, and refined carbohydrates such as white bread, pasta, and rice. Also, hydrogenated oils, also known as trans fats, found in packaged foods, fast food, margarine, shortening, and most peanut butter. And the third highly inflammatory food group is omega-6 fats.
Causes your arteries to get inflamed, causes your immune system to get inflamed, and decreases your ability to fight infections, decreases your ability to find cancer cells and get rid of them before they cause cancer, and increases inflammation and atherosclerosis in your arteries. So that's the omega-6s.
Unfortunately, omega-6 fats are everywhere. We cook and bake with them. They're in packaged food, fast food, and restaurant food. But if you know how to spot them on the store shelves and in the list of ingredients, you can avoid them. Omega-6 fats are vegetable oils, such as soybean oil and corn oil, but also peanut oil, grapeseed oil, cottonseed oil, safflower, and sunflower oils. So even though a certain food may contain 0 dangerous trans fats, it may still be a bad choice because it's loaded with inflammatory omega-6 fats. A good example of this is store-bought salad dressing and mayonnaise. The truth is, omega-6 fats are technically okay as long as you eat about the same amount of omega-3 fats. The problem is most Americans eat 25 times more omega-6s than omega-3s, and that imbalance causes massive inflammation. Omega-3 fats mostly come from seafood.
The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is important. The higher the ratio, the more omega-6 or the less omega-3, the more inflammation.
There are only a few sources of omega-3 fats. Certain types of fish or fish oil capsules are the best. Other, less potent sources are walnuts, ground flaxseed, dark green leafy vegetables, and eggs fortified with omega-3s. Also, grass-fed meat is higher in omega-3s than grain-fed. Olive oil is a great way to reduce inflammation, even though it's not technically an omega-3, but rather its cousin, omega-9.
Omega-3, omega-7, omega-9, we don't know why the oddness is good, but that oddness means that it decreases inflammation.
But be careful not to get olive oil too hot.
What happens with all the oils once you get above their smoke point is you denature them. That is, you change their character. So instead of having omega-9, they become a different oil, and in fact, they have a different structure that may not be healthy, and in the case of olive oil, we don't believe is healthy. So that's why you don't want to go over the smoke point of any of the oils.
So for optimal health, eat an anti-inflammatory diet, one that's low in sugar and other carbohydrates, trans fats, and omega-6 fats, but high in the odd-numbered fats like omega-3 found in fish, omega-7 found in macadamia nuts, and omega-9, which is in olive oil. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Ow, my feet hurt. My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Strut Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Strut Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Strut Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, callous feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back. But keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all. A $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yes! Love my Struts, love my Struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts. Be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your Struts and Miracle Foot Repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
2 generations of one family helping a third generation in need.
Yeah, a New York man and has his daughter and now his granddaughter to thank for his life-saving kidneys. Willie West got a kidney transplant from his daughter 8 years ago. Unfortunately, now he needs another one. That's when West's 23-year-old granddaughter stepped up to follow in her mother's courageous footsteps.
My mother donated the kidneys, so I figured, why not? I do. I see my mom. She's a strong woman.
Willie's granddaughter says she's excited about adding more years to her grandfather's life. I'll tell you what, I loved my pawpaw. He was the sheriff. He was cool.
Yeah.
So I understand how that love is. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching.